Okay, can anybody not hear me? My name is Kuga, or Kangming in here, and then ProBoo is the tool that I wrote, I think, 4-ish years ago that to help me to with my hard disk drive. Let's see. So it's an installation manager that will manage the Pro installations very easily for you. And it also has integration with Localnet that it can help you pin versions of different CPAP modules. Mainly for there are many different purposes, mainly for testing. So here's how you install it. It looks very dangerous, but it's just as risky as all the software installations. That's an installer. So after you initialize the whole environment, and you can type a few commands, it'll just grab the Pro Turbo from cpan and then do installations, configurations with all the default configure variables like compilation flags, etc., for you. And then you can also give it a URL. That's the soon to be released 5.18.2 URL. That's not official yet. Anyway, you can give it a URL and just try to figure out the correct version of what's the Pro version inside that Turbo, and then try to install it. Or you can just download the URL first and then run it locally, or you can run the installation against a Git checkout, so you can check out the whole Pro tree with Git. It'll try to figure out the correct version number from there, or you can. This is what I need to reduce the font. You can try to do that, and
it's installed, right? Not installed.
Yeah. But ProBoo will point that out and tell you that it should be installed.
Yes. Sorry, I don't speak English.
Liz, it depends on the locale that you have configured.
So anyway, it's installed, but ProBoo will try to figure out when you type a wrong command, it will try to figure out which command you mean, like git. Anyway, so this will use the git head SHA-1 as the installation name. So if you're hacking Pro internals, this will be pretty helpful. Like you can just install as many versions as you want in a different environment. They're all isolated. They're not interfering with each other, and you can quickly test your program against all different builds. That's the wrong direction. Or you can also pass these important flags, like their -d, -u, and flags. They're important to the configure script. That are defining symbols or undefining symbols, and all the other that's internal to the configure script that makes sense to pass through. Okay, so yeah, we saw the uses of the basic use of this tool. So what it basically provides is that that you'll be able to install all different setup or different builds of Pro, as many as you want, and all the installation are isolated. That means they're not it does not work like upgrade. So when you upgrade stuff, the inc folder will include the previous version of Pro, and sometimes it is not wanted because it might actually break with the new build. So the concept of having isolated environment actually becomes more useful than just keeping things as backward compatible as possible. Then, because compiling the whole Pro isn't really that expensive these days. So and then the tool also makes it very trivial to switch between the installations. That you will be able to like in your program, you can decide whether this program will be run with like current Perl, like whatever current is, or like a specific version. You can by specifying the full path of the executable on the shebang. So with the first one, like you use whatever is in the past, like the first one. So whatever you switch to in the shell, and then the second one will be a specific one. So no, let's go to the wrong version. Okay. So yeah, so it also has a list of nice features that you are basically sudo-free. Like you don't need to sudo in order to install CPAN module with this, because all the installation happens as your user account, and then you have all the read-write permission, whatever is needed. And then it's also useful like when you need to learn new language features like defined or experimental ones, like switch them, like so you don't when you install a new Perl, you don't need to consider that will it break my system or will it break my internet or something like that. So and it also will not interfere with the system Perl. So you can just install it, learn a new thing, and then also hacking Perl is internal, that having a Git tree checkout, and then have local commits. You can even have local commits and then install that one to a different installation, and then you don't have so. And then I found that the most use cases are testing. So there are different, because all the environments are isolated. That makes it a perfect test environment. Because test environment is always special, that you almost always want to have a pristine sort of environment, and then start everything from scratch over there, build up either like maybe clone some data from production, or have all the necessary code that's mocked up. But testing is always special, but yeah, so testing, and the testing can be done with different dimensions. That you can use this to test Perl itself, new builds, or you can use this to test your CPAN modules or your apps, and then or the dependency of your apps. If you depend on 10 modules and then one version of it, or one version of one module breaks, you can use this to more or less tell you that, or to reproduce, I guess, to reinstall everything so that you can reproduce it. Okay, so here I'm going to show you a few more the integration of locallib. So locallib is another layer of isolation. After you install a Perl version, that all the CPAN installation goes into a place they call sitelib, and that is. So when a module is installed, it's available for the whole system. But for using locallib, the module installed is only to a local directory that's usually local to your project or your whatever. It's also an isolated installation, and Perl Brew has sort of a native support for that. And so yeah, here's how you create a different container for your different lib. You just have this add names, and then you can switch to the different installation and install as many modules as you want in different containers, and then they're not visible when you switch from here to there. So they are actual modules.
Where's M?
It exists.
It exists.
I know, that's what I'm asking.
I'm sorry.
It's useless, but
So talking about isolations, and so when you have a new installation, everything is also sitelib, and then but all the local lib will sort of inherit what is already there in the sitelib. So So like in here we have two-sided cup and mud. There, if you they all like if you switch to cup, you will see all the modules in there and then in the silent, but not in the other. And you can use with Git. So Git is a super nice storage for whatever. So you can create a config variable that specifies that okay, for this project I want to use this Pro version, and then with git config and then that, and then switch to that after you cd into the directory. You can easily write a bash cd function to do this for you. I know that Ruby, like there's a similar thing for Ruby called RVM, and that the RVM tool does this for you. That it overrides CD function. To me, that's a bit too intrusive. That you probably don't want to do that quite often. But yeah, but it's quite like this is not so difficult to type. And okay. For cPanel, for managing module installations, there's also like this nice set of tools that allows you to do this. So there's a built-in command, list modules that basically use a kernel, core module that's called xutils list modules or something. Anyway, there's already a core.
xutils installed.
Yes, thank you. So it just simply calls that, and then it'll tell you all the installed modules of the Scilit and your current local lib combined. It's a little bit pity that it doesn't give the version information, but this works, and you can also install main.
Actually, we have the idea to fix that in the future. It has been discussed at the QA hackathon this April. There's just no one who's written it yet.
Okay.
But we all agree that in
There's a lot of
the
tools everywhere. But anyway, so there's also cpan and cpan minus that if you use ProBrew, you should use the one install via this process. And for one thing, that it'll be aware that you switch to different modules. When you install it that way, it changes the cpan shebang, so it'll use the current Perl in the environment rather than, if you don't do this, it'll use the system Perl like user bin Perl, so that you'll find it basically doesn't work after you switch to different Perl installations. And there's also some other nice tools on the cpan these days that allows you to tell you that if your modules are too old or you can even uninstall them, then yeah. So search for those names; they're very useful. Okay, so all these features in ProBrew are mostly, I think, 99% are done via shell integration. So the command there's a command ProBrew, like an executable, but there's also a layer that's a shell function that's also named ProBrew. And when you initialize ProBrew environment, like the first line, it'll bring in the ProBrew bash function. So whenever from those point on, like ProBrew, all the ProBrew command will go through that bash function, and then what it basically does is to manipulate those three environment variables for you, like path. So you switch to a different installation, it'll change a few things in the path and then do rehash. And then if you enable local lib, it'll also change profile lib. So it's really nothing. It's nothing that magic, but it's pretty useful. And there are these major important variables that ProBrew exports. So you can use these variables to do some eye candy like command prompts modifications, or there's also batch completion plugin by Rob, and and there are also support for C shell, although I'm not sure how much does that work. And also very recently Fish shell. Fish is a new shell. Okay, it supports Bash and the ZSH like the best because I use ZSH, and if it breaks down, okay. So so I mentioned that testing is very useful for in terms of this. So here's how you can install different. Here's a simple shell script you use to install different visualizer on you. Yeah. So here I want to test these 3 plaque versions. So I create a local lib and then switch them and then install plaque. From I think for recent version of CPNN, you can specify version, use this. It'll do the right thing. So whatever version, you can use this to downgrade or upgrade. So with simple shell scripting like this, it becomes very easy to initialize the test environment for each using local lib and turbo. And here's another trick I do sometimes. So on CPAN we sometimes have like very resource heavy or dependency heavy modules like Dizilla. Oh, sorry. So when I migrate to a new Perl version, like in my daily workflow, like usually like spending time reinstalling Dizilla is like a lunch. So but for that I pretty much don't need to reinstall it every time I upgrade. So you can use this trick to there's an exec command. It'll just launch a subshell and then execute that whatever it's afterwards for you. And then you don't have to reinstall it after you migrate. And here's another way to do it, and it's just expanded. But here's a caveat for it. Like since this use command will also update the information needed for installing modules. So if whatever command after here is installing modules, it will be installed to here, which is most likely unwanted or sometimes unwanted. You can also do this. This will make the environment read-only, but it's basically expanding the Perl brew path here, but without without the variable that's required for module installations, and then run the commands. Again, this is too long. Anyway, the idea is just when you set these 2 variables, then it's fine. And okay, so there are also other people working on the integrations with other environments, such as editors. There's Vim Perl group, and that allows you to switch version within a Vim session. So like I guess exact will work on there. And there's also an Emacs integration. There's also a TextMate integration. Yeah, so that because the basic idea is the same. It's just the environment that the shell or the editor has to change a few variables when you do switching. So check it out. There are a bunch of other similar tools right now, and PLM is very good. It's also a very good replacement of Perl brew that use an entirely different approach. Like it doesn't munch with your path or Perl 5-lib variable, but it creates a whole bunch of shunts. That is, it creates new executable files within the current path, and then in there it'll invoke to correct paths for a specific version. Like just really similar to the wrapper that I showed earlier. And the Perl O is also similar to Perl group. Static Perl on CPM that allows you to compile the whole Perl binary as one single file. There's no external dependencies. There's no, like the whole ink is in there, so it's a special one. And I have some work to isolate or to genericize the bash wrapper of Perl group into something that's a lot more common that I can use to different. I don't have a nice name. I just call it PX or whatever. And so basically it allows you, when you have like different version of installation of some software that can be switched between changing paths, you can use this bash wrapper to sort of manipulate paths a little bit easily. You can say, I have a Rakuda installation here, and then we have two versions, and then you can activate one of them. It'll just put this bin into your path. Like this similar idea is just make things a tiny bit easier. So, there also a chef recipe for Perl brew that I think David Golden has been working with Perl brew when using Chef. That is like to automate the installation of machines. I personally haven't evaluated. I have no idea how this works, but it seems to be working. And what I know is Travis CI, they use Perl brew internally to, I think they also use Chef. That's how the whole thing is set up. And so Travis CI is an integration service, continuous integration service. So testing service that whenever you have a git commit push to GitHub, they'll be notified and then rerun your test suite. And they use Perl brew and CPM- to fetch, well, to run your tests, basically, essentially. And recently, I started use them like very exclusive, like old projects, and then they all have. There's also another corresponding service called coverall.io that basically store your code coverage test report in there, and you see like a chart of the historic coverage percentage, etc. It's pretty neat. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, any questions?
Do you know that you're a hero?
I don't have superpowers.
Yeah, you are.
Any other questions?
Can it be used to replace or temporarily replace a system code?
What do you mean temporary?
Well, for instance, I use CentOS with a 5.10 version or whatever.
Yes.
And I want to update, instead of updating it,
Yes.
test it first with Perl brew. So
Sure.
system-wide, I mean.
System-wide. So there's because right after installation, what it matters is that what is the Perl version used for app, for your whatever you have,
Yeah.
right? So basically your application needs to be aware of the path of that Perl.
Okay, or the environment of
Yeah.
your
So
choice.
the bash, like this whole bash thing, is for your terminal basically.
Yeah.
You have a terminal in that shell, and then it's aware of that you have installation there. But if you have binaries, things like if you need to install like ImageMagick, that needs to be compiled with with the libperl
Yeah.
here there, then you need to work that sort of that's different. So, and it's a bit harder to make Perl brew be aware of that, I guess, because that's that's really independent. And that's up to the module. So.
So keep it within one user space, or?
Yes. So what I do also you can specify Perlable root like the variable at installation time, but that only change the default prefix to a different directory. Like that's not in LibreHome basically.
Yeah.
So what you can try to do is install the whole thing with root, and then so that the single installation is available to everybody on the same server.
Okay, so /alt or something. And then
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you also the guy that I have to contact for problems with my install problem with Perl root?
Probably.
Answer to that is always no.
Yeah. It was just a shame that I had a very old Mac and I wanted to install it, and it crashed on not having the proper curl version. It's the one something to do with SSL, and it didn't allow me to do SSL at that moment on that machine. Then when I want to install curl, I already got a new Perl version with it instead of my old 5.6 or something in the same center. Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Okay.
Well, I contacted later.
Come to me later.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.